Hi everybody, this is Debbie from SimplySpecialCrafts, and today we're going to be talking about Santa and Friends luxury set. And here, by popular demand, we have Margie in front of the camera to talk about her creations. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. First up, we have this set. This one is called A Winter's Wish. We have the polar bear toppers, polar bear and penguin. We have the polar bear and penguin looking on at the bright moon. And we have this absolutely adorable, wonderful border. Isn't that pretty with the foiling down both sides? I love it when they do this because it just gives you so much material to work with.
Yeah, I like it too, and they put a lot of it in this entire pack.
They really did.
Pack.
Craftaganza this year, they were very generous with the foiling on their cardstock. Okay, up first we have this pretty little card where we've taken a piece of that foiled border. We've covered this piece. This is going to be a European A6 card. We have covered the face of that with our cardstock. I took the border piece off of this topper set, and I was looking for something to kind of fill this space. So I found center on my card, and then I ran each piece just from the top of the foiling to the top of the card and kind of created this pyramid, put a Christmas tree in the middle, and put 3 of my smaller toppers here, tied myself a little bow out of that iridescent ribbon, and then I put one of the Christmas trees in off of the Starform Christmas tree set. Isn't that pretty? You guys are always asking me, what can we do with those little borders? Here's a great example, or of the little toppers. This is a great example of what you can do with those toppers.
Yeah, and this one really came with a whole bunch of toppers in this set of little ones, and so you did a good job of filling the space.
Thank you. This one is on a DL card. That means it's on the 4x8. We've taken a DL, we've covered it with our Rainbow Mary, and then cut our topper down to just a little bit smaller to let the border show all the way around the edges. I really loved this tree, and I loved the way that the tree was framing the polar bear and the penguin, and I just couldn't bear to cut that off, so that's why I used the longer card on this one. And then I had quite a bit of room in the sky here, so I set one of my small toppers up on some foam squares, just tied a bow underneath. It's a very simple card, but it's precious. I love, love, love the glittering on this. Here's one of our larger toppers. This one's going to be on a 5x7 card, and I used one piece of the border, then I cut a piece of the border off the other side and brought it in to frame this big topper. So this has been added on this piece here. And then I just simply did what you've seen me do so often. I broke this topper set into 3 pieces. I put the outside up on some foam squares. I recessed that inner ring. And then I put the inside up on some foam squares, added a little greeting on there. And again, this iridescent ribbon is so pretty on here. I think this is the one that's called Blue with Yellow. I think that's so. What this is called. Yeah. And you would never guess that blue with yellow would look so good with snow scenes, but we've used that generously throughout this kit, and I just think it's gorgeous. Next up, this time, we've taken our cardstock off of this sheet, this piece here, put it on a 5x7 card, and we've just done the same thing. We have broken the 3-piece topper into 3 pieces on foam squares, glued flush on foam squares. This time, however, I wanted the moon in this shot, so I cut the moon out up here, and I brought it down and put it up on some foam squares so that the penguin and the polar bear were looking at the moon. Then I used one of those little tiny button toppers here and tied another one of those bows because they're just too pretty.
And these are the three-piece sides, correct?
Yes,
Of ribbon?
this is the 1/4-inch ribbon, and I've tied one of those 5-1-5 bows. Good question. Okay, here's one little topper left, and we've talked before about the fact that when you have a little topper and you're trying to make a card out of it, you just have to make that topper bigger. To make it bigger, in this case, I used the remaining piece left of my cardstock. I had a little piece of this patterned sky left, so I took a piece of Rainbow Mary and I surrounded that little piece of cardstock. I put my topper in the center, then I took a little bit larger piece of that Rainbow Mary and I put it in back, which kind of created a star by offsetting that and putting this one on corner. And then adding that piece of border stretched that out. And you don't immediately notice that it's a little tiny topper. But here's an example of taking probably an 1.5-inch topper and making an A6 card out of it. Once again, that blue with yellow ribbon. So pretty.
And I know that we actually used pretty much every little tiny bit that we could of each paper. We had very little left on all of these.
No, in
so
fact,
using this scrap was just perfect for some of those.
Absolutely. In fact, we got 5 cards out of this set. Let's move on. Our next set here is called Away in a Manger. And we've got 2 large manger scene toppers, some borders, and a bunch of little pieces. So let's see what we did with that. Here is another one of those gorgeous, gorgeous borders we were talking about. I love the fact that this one says, "Oh, come, let us adore him." And then it's just got a lot of different elements here we can work with. And then we've got this big, beautiful piece of the manger as well here. Okay, first up, now I have taken on this one, I've taken this large piece here, and I have to say this was just too big to fit a 5x7. And one of my goals is to keep these cards generally smaller because we know that's what you prefer. So I did something a little bit unusual here. I took this piece off the outside and I just used the inner ring and the topper. And I put it up above the top here, and then I thought, you know, it needs a little bit more. So what I did is I backed that inner circle with a piece of mirror board, just to kind of fill my space and add an element of interest. My thought going into it was to kind of create a halo effect. And I used it on that really beautiful cardstock. Now you'll notice that I took the bottom off of that in order to get, it was really too busy if I used it clear up here. So what I did is I cut a strip off of the bottom so that I could get more of the cream color up at the top. This time I think we're using, I'm not sure which one this is. I think this might be one of the olive.
Oh, it's the blue and antique gold.
Is this the blue and antique gold? Mm-hmm. It sure is. That's the blue and antique gold. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I tied one of those 5-1-5 bows. I brought
love
in
this bow. I love it.
Covered this card with some gold mirror board before I put the rest of my elements down, and then I brought in a couple. It just seemed like the right place to use a couple of those Starform angels coming in from either side.
How did you get your mirror board shape?
Excuse me?
Your backer board, how did you get that shape?
I just glued my ring down to my mirror board and then I cut around it. Good question. Okay, next up, this is the second large topper off of that sheet, this one here. And I did pretty much the same thing in terms of trimming off some of the pink so that it wasn't just quite so much. I felt like these toppers were so large that they kind of needed a little open space around them. So I brought it up used more of the cream by trimming this a little bit. This is a 5x7 card. I do believe that maybe I've trimmed that down a little. I'll bet if we measured this, we would find that this has actually been cut to 6.5. So it's actually going to be a 6.5 by 5. And this time I recessed both the top, the center, and this center ring as well. And I only put the outside up on foam squares. Why? Because I wanted to do something different. This time I used the pearlescent red in 1/4 inch. And I put my little topper up on some more foam squares. That's it. Now I said that this one was too big, this ring was too big for a 5x7 card. I decided what I wanted to do was to create a large easel out of that. So what I did is I took the ring I removed from here and I surrounded this image. So I brought my ring over here. I took a 5x7 card, turned it so that the fold is at the top. I folded my front cover in half, and then I cut each of these panels to 3.5 inches.
And how big is the total card?
7 inches.
7x7?
Yes. So I used a 7x7 card blank. I cut 3.5 inch panels here and here. I used 2 3.5 inch pieces of this border. And then I brought my standing angels in here and put them at the bottom. And once again, this time I'm using the 1 inch. This is the royal blue and gold, right?
Yep.
It's blue and antique gold.
I believe
Is that
it's
what's
called
called?
antique gold.
Yeah. And I created down here, I created my stopper by actually using a throwaway piece. I used this piece right here. And I used some of my star form star border, and I brought it here and here, put a Merry Christmas in the middle, used a couple of those small dots here. Now the star border, when you use that, it actually has little stars inside, so when you peel that border up, you actually have some tiny little stars. And I thought it looked sweet to surround this topper with a few of those little stars. And I put my Easy Peely greeting on the inside, and then I put my angels blowing their horn on either side of that greeting. So we end up with this.
That one's very precious. And I noticed that you actually took your stars and
I
put
sure
them
did.
all the way around
I
your
forgot
sides.
about saying that. I sure did. I took those little tiny stars from the border and just kind of surrounded it, filling a little of this space. Now this space is only important when the card is flat, but I wanted it to look completed when it was flat and completed when it was standing. So by adding those little stars around the outside, it just kind of gave it a finished look when it was pulled out of the envelope. Good point, Margie. Thank you. Okay.
So
okay.
this is the one that I did out of this pack. It is the Santa Paws, and it's got a little cat and a little dog wrapping presents for everyone.
Oh,
Now,
very
this
cute.
is the one time that dogs and cats are actually wrapping presents instead of unwrapping presents. And these are our two.
I always love it when they give us a full image on the
Yeah.
on both cardstock pieces. It's like there's found art there.
There is found art, which is a good thing, because let me tell you, it's a lot harder to get the tags done on these just because of the way that they're set up. And so the kitty cat is foiled and the dog is not, but we still made them absolutely pretty. So on this one, it is a 6x6, and I took the standard piece of frame and put it around with the foam squares, then the inset, and then the foam squares. For my outer paper though, I wanted to show this craft paper so that you could actually see it, because think about it, when you have parcel post, and it used to be that you had to wrap all your, yes, I'm showing my age, just wrap all of your packages in brown. And so I really kind of wanted to honor that thought in this. And then I just took a little Sticker King sticker and I colored the inside parts, the inset pieces with an alcohol marker. It was
Cute.
really simple to do and just gave it that extra little pop.
So even though this is glossy paper, that alcohol ink dried nicely on there, where a water-based water-based ink would not. So
No.
the alcohol was a great idea.
Yeah.
And then what Margie was saying is, see how she's cut this top or this backing cardstock just a little bit smaller than her card, so you could see the brown all the way around. And then I see that you actually attached your little tag right onto the frame there. That's really cute.
And one trick is that you attach it here on your frame, but you've got to make sure to put your little foamies underneath, or else they will bend with time.
Cute. Super cute.
This is my next one, and I'm going just one right after the other of this style because they are handled very similarly. On this one, same concept of the border, and on this one I made the tops a little bit narrower and the sides a little bit wider.
Okay.
And it had to do with the way that the borders fit. So when you're looking at these borders, in order to be able to get as much as I possibly could, that's why this section was taken from the dog side.
Okay.
And the dog one was taken from the kitten side.
That's a good
And
idea.
it was this that I have cut here and turned on edge. So,
And I noticed your folds at the top of this one.
and my fold is at the top of this one. I have a couple Sticker King little presents on here and a couple of our jewel dazzles, and then a 3-part bow. And I believe that this one is the sage and gold.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
So
It looks great with the craft card. That's really a nice sticker with that.
I liked it a lot. This is our little whole piece that's just right here. And it's just cut to fit the craft card stock. And then it has a Sticker King stockings up here.
And I believe that's a European A6 there.
Yes. And I did not color these, but you can absolutely take an alcohol marker and go through and fill these in. I just was kind of enjoying it with the simple gold that matched the foiling with the kitty.
I think it's nice to do that because it lets the cat be the profile.
And the Merry Christmas.
Is also Sticker King, I believe, right?
I believe so. And then here is my little puppy, and he opens from the top as well. And I have done the exact same thing, just lined it right up with the card size itself. Again, it's the craft paper, and with a Sticker King just for you. And I took the little poinsettia and I did color it with alcohol markers in really light colors. I didn't want to do it too dark because I was afraid that it would just look a little muddied. So
It
just
looks
took
really
lighter
cute
colors.
because it kind of, you know, with the soft borders and things, it looks like it belongs there. It's really cute.
And then because we had these wonderful little borders and lots of tags, I did use the tags throughout these two pieces, but we still had a few more. So went back to that idea of the parcel being wrapped in craft paper, and I did 2 of them. One is up and down and one is sideways.
That's cute.
And when I did these, I just basically took the borders and crisscrossed them on the A6, just like a package would be with a ribbon. And then I put my little tag and my Sticker King just for you. And this bow, in order to get this kind of effect like it's streaming down, you're just going to take a little bit of finger lift tape and put just tiny little bits, or your best glue ever, and just kind of manipulate your ribbon around the tag. And then this kind of fills in your space with the card.
That's really cute. I love the way they did this. This is a nice new technique for everybody.
Yeah, and this is the iridescent pink in the 1/2 inch,
Okay.
I believe.
The iridescent red, I think, yeah.
Oh, the iridescent red. That's right. It wasn't pink, and it actually does look red when
We
you
called
put
it
it down.
pearlescent red. That's what I
Pearlescent
think
red.
we called it on the website.
This is the little doggy tag, and I took the borders, put them in at a diagonal, and literally what I did was I just took some extra. I didn't measure it out. You just take your finger lift tape, put it underneath, and then lay it down, and you just trim off each edge with the card. And then this one has the orange and sage iridescent ribbon.
Sticker
This
King.
is a Sticker King little flourish for 2 corners, and then I just added a little tiny bit of sequins. And I'm sure that everyone has a little bit of sequins at their house in green. There's gotta be more than just me that has sequins in my house. So added
Super
those in.
cute. How many cards did you get in total from that, Margie?
I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Amazing. Beautiful. You may have seen this one before because we did an online class with this one, but this is our Rockin' Robin. I was just so struck with the beauty of this cardstock. It's just magnificent because it's got that turquoise foiling in the snowfall. We've got our singing robins on here. Let's see what we did with these. First, it had to happen, guys. When you have a card called Rockin' Robin, we had to make a rocker card. It just had to be done. So we actually used a tattered lace rocker on this one from a tattered lace die set. I'll link that in the newsletter. And I didn't do a whole lot more to it. I covered it in my cardstock from here. And then I actually used leftover pieces. I waited to put these insert pieces in until I was done with the other cards. Then I used my scrap to fill these little gaps here. I used some of our musical notes. And once again, I'll link those in the newsletter. This is up on some foam squares, and this one, we did this one in class, and one of the attendees in class actually recommended raising this topper up a little bit higher, and I love that, so this is the one that we did in class. So we've got our Rockin' Robin. And
you did this with the adorable scoreable in order to keep from having cracks on the top.
Yes. When you're using some of these really involved dies with lots of folds, the adorable scoreable can be a perfect material for that because the plastic film that's on the adorable scoreable cardstock keeps that from cracking and feathering when you're using a heavy cardstock that you need for a card base and making all those intricate folds in it. Adorable scoreable is perfect for that. Okay, next up we have a European A6 card. This is made by covering my card, and then I trimmed a 1/2 inch off. I used a complimentary blue piece of paper on the inside and just put one of my little Sticker King flourishes on the inside. And then I put my Merry Christmas on. I put my Robin on with some foam squares, and it just didn't need more than that. I just kind of let the beautiful foiled cardstock carry the day. And even though this is trimmed in the front, it will stand up. But it's fun when you look at it that it's kind of at different levels. Next up, this one is done on a European A6, and I loved the bright red in the robins. So I took a piece of bright red cardstock. I covered my A6 card. I cut my piece of cardstock from this corner just slightly smaller to allow that red to show around the corners.
And that red is shimmer paper, isn't it?
I believe it is. Actually, that's the Jupiter shimmer paper. Good point. And I'll link that in the newsletter. Here's our musical notes again. And I put my sentiment up on some foam squares, and I think this is just as cute as it can be.
They look like they're having fun.
And we had fun making them, so it was a win all the way around. Now, when I used this topper on the rocker card, I did not use the frame because it was too big to do the whole image on my rocker, and yet it had to be a rocker card. So I took the frame off here, and I didn't want to waste that frame. So I brought that fun bright red frame back in by using this narrower topper here. This is a European A6 card again. I trimmed off my musical notes, put these up on some foam squares, and then I just cut pieces out of that red frame for the top and the bottom. And I let that overlap my card just a little bit so that I didn't have to cut around all of that. I just let the scallops stand above and below my card, and once again, even though it has those scallops on there, it'll still stand up nicely. Next up, we had to have a shaker card. That little robin is just so cute that I felt like if he's singing and we're doing a rockin' robin, there needed to be a musical note inside my shaker. So I've covered a 5x7 card with that beautiful foiled mirror board again, or the foiled cardstock. It's not mirror board, but the foiled cardstock. Covered that. Built myself a shaker card using my foam tape, my shaker tape, and some of my shaker elements that we will, once again, we'll link those in the newsletter. And put my Seasons tweetings up on some. I think I actually used shaker tape under it so it would be the same height as my shaker card. And I think it turned out gorgeous. And note, the adorable Scorable has snow already printed on it, so we get kind of a snowy foreground on our shaker. This one is what I called in class an inspiration card, because we did not include in the class kit all the materials for this, but we do have this wonderful die in the store. It's called a snowflake channel die, I believe. And I had a quarter of a piece of this beautiful cardstock left, and I just couldn't waste it. So I used the same light blue cardstock that I used. It was just something out of my stash. I used the same light blue cardstock in the back here. I put my channeled snowflake over the top. I cut this out of white glitter paper, and then just put that embellishment on my card. Added a Merry Christmas, and I just didn't think it needed any more than that, because I really wanted to profile the beautiful cardstock and the beautiful die. That's it for these. This is a favorite of the girls that work here. This one's called A Happy Christmas, and you've got this absolutely adorable little bunny kind of communing with this robin in the holly bush. It's so, so cute. Look at him just kind of reaching out to the bunny and talking. And we've got these little heart tags and some of these other really sweet tags. I love the way they've done these, almost like ribbons.
Mm-hmm. It's my husband's favorite too.
Is it your husband's favorite also? Here's the little bunny reaching out. And we've got a pretty foiled border across the top. Note all the little hearts along here. And then we've got, on this one, we had just the bunny. On this one, we have just the robin. And we've got a nice border treatment on the other side. Beautiful snowflake background here. So, first up, we used I used this topper off of the sheet, and I used a piece of this background from here. This is a 5x7 card. I really wanted this pretty border piece here, and I wanted to drop down one of those ribbons. So what I did is I cut along, this is an easy cutting job, guys, but I fussy cut this border and just kind of captured the little scallops and the hearts here. Then I actually trimmed it down just a little. I'll show you that mine is narrower than the original, because I didn't want it to go clear down under the bunny. So I trimmed, after I cut this off, I trimmed it to about 1 inch, I'm gonna say. I put this up on some foam squares, and then I dropped down that banner from underneath this addition that I put on the top, and I put that up on some foam squares, and then I put the heart on some foam squares also. Then I did some glittering of the robin and the bunny using my quickie glue pen. And I just think that turned out as cute as can be. The little heart says, I love Christmas. And you've got the little silver hearts on that drop down as well. Really cute.
It's very sweet.
Next up, here's the other topper sheet. And I've done a similar thing here. Once again on this side. I really love this border and I just thought it added so much. So this time I trimmed it off, and this time I only used maybe, I'm going to say about 5/8 of an inch. It's on a European A6 card, and I glittered my little scene with my quickie glue pen and that super fine glitter that we sell in the store. Put this up on some foam squares, put this up on some foam squares, and I just didn't think it needed more than that. I thought it was really cute just the way it was. When I was done, I did have several pieces of my border left, and as you've heard before, I did not have inserts for this kit, so instead of using inserts, I used my drop-down ribbons and one of my border pieces to create an insert for my card. You guys may very well have inserts for your kits. I just didn't have them. Okay, now I found this to be a little bit of a challenge because my bunny's on this one and my bird was on this one, and you'll note they're both facing the same direction. There really wasn't any way to flip this for the bunny to commune with the bird. So what I did instead is I covered my cardstock first with my little bunny from here. Then I took a piece of this border just to kind of fill the extra space because the bunny wasn't very wide. If you notice, he's just kind of there. That's a big old piece of card left there. So I took this border from here, glittered it all up nicely, glittered around my bunny, and then I took the little heart from the punch-out sheet that had the bird on it, and I cut gently with a craft knife around his paw, and I slid the heart into his hands between his paws there, so that he still had the opportunity to kind of commune with the bird.
And so you basically made your entire card set first before you put it on your card, or did you cut through your card?
No, I actually, that's a good question, Margie. I actually cut through the cardstock before I added it to my card, so that I could get that little heart in there. Because I could see where I needed to go. And again, I would have done it when it was just the cardstock and cut around here and then slid that heart in and then built my card around it. Good question.
Because you wouldn't want to see it on the inside.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see it on the inside.
Yeah.
But it turned out really cute. So then I had this piece that had only the bird, and I used this piece for my card, and I think this turned out really, really pretty. I didn't have the bunny to go with this one, so I wanted to make this one extra sparkly. So I really sparkled up the holly bush, and then I brought one of those ribbons down, and I put Let It Snow here, so that it's really, this card kind of stands alone without the rest of the bunnies, and it's quite pretty just as a robin card.
And you can really see the difference that it gives by adding that glitter right in there. You can really see the two difference.
It changes it quite a lot.
It makes it look a lot more snowy.
There we go. That was the bunny set. Happy Christmas. This is Margie and Debbie for Simply Special Crafts. This has been the first half of Santa and Friends from the 2020 Hunkydory Craftaganza set, Santa and Friends. And from this 5 sets, Margie, we got 23 cards.
We got a lot.
We got a lot. We got a lot of cards, and I think you'll agree they're beautifully done. So tune in and see our second installment of Santa and Friends coming up.
Sounds like a plan. We'll still be here.